Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, that's a distinct pleasure and a genuine honor to start a project, the Visegrad Group in Georgia, which is supported by the Embassy of the Republic of Poland in Tbilisi within the framework of the Polish V4 presidency. And our first guest will be the ambassador of Poland to Georgia, His Excellency, Mr. Mariusz Maszkiewicz, a friend of Georgia and of our organization. And thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, Your Excellency, that you have found free time in your busy schedule to spend this hour with us. And also I'd like to greet a friend of mine, Mr. Georgi Koberidze, Senior Fellow of the Foreign Policy Council. And also I'd like to use this opportunity to thank our friends from Polish Embassy, Mr. Bartłomiej Gontarz, Magdalena Wojdasiewicz, and Mariusz Pietrzak, people who supported our idea initiative from the very beginning and joined this brilliant idea. Mr. Ambassador, good afternoon, and thank you for being with us.
Ilam Shvidovis Aga Marjoba, Zalian Sasyamovno, Michariarom Max Shesadzle Bloba, Dyskusja Vyshehradis Djgupis Shesachet.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ambassador, I'd like to use this privilege to give you the first question. And my first question will be, generally, why V4 matters for Poland? Why this regional union is important to your country?
There are two main reasons. The first one is the, let's say, historical, however, it's not so far history, concerning the establishing of V4 group. It is the beginning of 1991, when we just started to form our new foreign policy after collapse of communism in 1989. And so we started to, let's say, to find a new way how to escape from the post-Soviet space. I mean the Warsaw Treaty, I mean the economic relations with Soviet Union, which were dominating in our public and economic life. And the Polish government decided to put forward the task, the main task, which is to anchor our country, to anchor Poland into the Western system of economy and security. That means that we decided that moments after the elections in partly free elections in 1989, when the solidarity movement started to take responsibility on country, and we started to let's say sail to the port, which is from the ages very natural for Poland. We were anchored, we were related, connected, strictly connected with the Western world, not the Eastern Russian one. And the Minister of the Foreign Affairs and the presidents organized, the ministers of Czechoslovak Republic, Hungary and Poland organized a meeting for presidents in a small historical town, Visegrad, in Czechoslovakia. And they decided to sign a common, let's say, statement, common document relating to our ambitions to become the members of United Europe. That time it was the European Economic Cooperation it was the beginning of the European Union, let's say, in this form. I mean, the Treaty of Maastricht and so on, so on. But we also decided to become as soon as possible the member of NATO. In that moment, it looked like, you know, for many Georgians 10 years before, yeah, it is completely impossible. It is completely science fiction and so on, because we were so far from this Western world. But we decided to let's say connect to add to help each other, to add each other our forces, our abilities, our also activities in the Western world, and show Brussels, Washington, London, Paris, the main capitals, and Berlin, of course, in that time was Bonn still, that we are ready to come together to be allied, to be a reliable partner for this organization, for this structure, for this united world. The document was signed in Visegrad in February 1991, and so it showed the way for us how to build our future under the umbrella of these two main organizational partners in the Western world. But now V4 has a little bit wider context. Since we are already members of NATO, members of the European Union, we are very strong part of this security system in Europe, and maybe not only in Europe, in the region wider. We are a strong, let's say, partner, economic partner for many of our friends from all this Euro-Atlantic space, and appeared that there are some problems to be solved. There are some ideas to be shared with our partners that need a little bit more power, and need a little bit one voice from Warsaw, or the separate voices from Prague, Bratislava, and Budapest. And we started to build a kind of, you know, there is tradition in the European Union to build the local coalitions of countries like Benelux, like countries that are speaking, you know, the same language, I mean the German one, or like countries who are speaking Latin languages, and so on, so on. There are tradition in that we have the interests, for instance, interests of the Mediterranean Sea and the policy towards North Africa. Yes, we have the interest to cooperate with the northern countries. Some of them are, you know, trying to attract attention from the other members of the European Union or NATO to the problems that are surrounding them, that are in the near neighborhood. And so we decided to build such a coalition within the European Union to attract attention for our problems, for the problems we have in the eastern flank, I mean, in terms of security, and the problems that appeared in the relations with new ambitious countries in which the younger generation have also the ambitions to be in the future the members of the organizations that we are already rooted. I mean, the countries that are outlined the general notion as the partnership countries, Eastern Partnership countries. Yes, that Ukraine and Georgia, we say in the first moment. Yes, but we see what is going on in Moldova, in Belarus, but we see the development in Armenia, and we would like to be the advocate, be to the supporter of their ambitions, and we see that they are still the members of the let's say traditional community, which is rooted in Christianity or in European values or in both. And so we are related, we are connected by the neighborhood. We are strongly related to our common past. I mean, the Hungary or Slovakia or Poland had in their history a lot of formations that were related to Ukraine, Belarus, and so on. So Moldova. And so it is visible, and so there are, let's say, the list of many initiatives that are coming beyond the V4. I mean, the initiatives which is called Triangle of Europe. I mean, 3Cs triangle. Coalition of the countries within the European Union, which is not geopolitical or political, rather economical, concerning the relating to the infrastructure, to developing the connectivity of this region. And so this is the reason that V4 goes beyond, and the importance of V4 lies, I think, in this, that we are providing our partners, our neighbors, both in West and East, kind of new, fresh initiatives, kind of fresh ideas.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And I'd like to address to you another question. And as we know, Poland from July 2020 is the president of the Visegrad 4. Of course, you have talked about the main general directions of the cooperation of the V4 beyond its borders. And of course, I'm not going to address to you the question about the priorities of these presidents, because I will give this question to the representative of the Ministry of Republic of Poland, of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Poland. But I would like to ask you, what are the main challenges that the V4 is having right now? As we know, there are a lot of foreign policy headaches that right now the EU is having on its eastern borders. What could you say about the current challenges?
I think that main challenges, I can say that is more related to the future of the organizations that we are partners, members. The future of the European Union, the necessity of reform process within the European Union, the necessity of the reconstruction, the process of the decision making, yes, in the institutions in Brussels. So we are facing a lot of these misunderstandings concerning the differences that, for instance, many people in the Western world, France, Germany, West Germany particularly, Brussels and the others, are assessing the processes of reforming our institutions inside country, like taking the power by the majoritarian ruling party, yes, and they are interpreting it like a process of process which is threatening the democracy, but they do not understand a lot of very small things that lies behind or lies below the surface. I mean the judicial reform, yes, which is assessed like prudential changes, which is related to the politicization of this, but they do not understand how the past, the communist past, still affects to the system. And what they are recommending, for instance, it is very funny, I observe it in Georgia. What they are recommending to Georgia now in judicial reform, it is, let's say, forbidden in Poland or in Hungary. And so we could not understand why. They understand that the Georgian system is, let's say, polluted by the elements of the Soviet past, and it is somehow not only the personalities, yes, but the way of thinking, the structures and so on, and the lack of lack of the feeling that the law is law on the first, the constitution is on the first, and so on. They do not understand it. We are criticized by left side, left part of the political stage in the European Parliament because of the prejudices and the kind of restrictive approach from the lefters in France, in Germany, to the conservative right-wing party in Poland or in Hungary. And this is the problem. And we are facing in the V4, the kind of misunderstanding. And so we have to permanently explain what is the sense of the reforms that we are leading in our country, what is the sense of the changes that are in Hungary, what is the problem of the post-communist heritage? I mean, the past is everyday life. And for instance, the problem they cannot compare with their system is that in Germany, for instance, the judges to the constitutional court are elected from politicians or former politicians. It is in Poland the parliament is aiming, so is electing judges from the corps of judges, and so they have for instance, they are criticizing Poland because of such way, but they have for instance in Germany much more politicized manner to form the Supreme Court than in our country. They could not see it, but still the problem is that, of course, the political parties or the political environment in Warsaw or in Budapest, which is based more than in the social democrats or post-communist parties, are still they still have the influence on the public opinion in many newspapers, many media in the Western. So they are shaping, you know, the brains of the elites in the Western world. And the problem of ruling party in Poland is that they still do not have such instruments to bring their arguments to the public. And so we are, I think that V4 group is still, you know, facing these problems to be enough good understood by partners in the Western world. So this is our also I see the common interest, the common problem to be solved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Georgi.
Well, thank you. Your Excellency, some political commentators say that via Hungary and its slightly different approach towards the Russia, towards the Brussels, and the foreign policy in general, Russia is trying to create discord and disagreement within the Visegrad Group. So is this true, or is this even possible to do so?
There are some differences, of course, in this sphere. I mean, the relations with Russia. I think that Viktor Orban took a position that if we could take some profits from Russia, why not to do it? And he's making, you know, the very, let's say, what kind of word to use to describe it without any, you know, not to offend the partner, but so his approach is very, let's say, pragmatical. And as we have, you know, Germans, as we have Italians and French companies that are relating with Russia very much, as we have, you know, Nord Stream pipeline, as we have a lot of, you know, business making by Italians. So it is true that and he has right, you know, I mean, the Orban has right that why should not we do it? Yes. Of course, the approach is a little bit, you know, against our, let's say, the mainstream policy. I mean, towards Ukraine and so on. So in many areas we have a different opinion, different meaning. But in the result, in the end, you know, so we could find the final common position, and so we present it in the spirit of solidarity and in the spirit of unity, let's say, in this group.
Thank you very much. You have mentioned, Your Excellency, about the spirit of solidarity. The Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki, is very frequently using this term to describe the, I would say, the ambition of the V4 in terms of its approach to Belarus, country which is right now in trouble. And Poland has become real protagonist in this direction and advocate of Belarus. I mean, the relations with the EU. That's why a couple of days ago, the Polish government offered a new Marshall Plan, Polish approach to give some kind of financial and political aid to Belarus. In this matter, the position of V4 is very important. What could you say about the V4 approach towards Belarus?
Solidarity is our Polish, let's say, brand, our Polish trademark. And so this is the way how to change the country, revolutionary way, but without any kind of violence. And so solidarity was the first example for the method that does not allow Putin to sleep, and Lukashenko and the other dictators, because they are very afraid of the democratic way to elect leaders, to say freely what people would like to have, and so this is the reason. This is the reason, which is that we promote solidarity further. 40 years after establishing this movement, the trade movement, but it was not only trade movement. That was the movement. Trade union, but it was not only trade union that time. This was the national movement, which could be compared to the national movements in post-Soviet area in the end of 80s or beginning of 90s. And as you remember, in September 1981, the first assembly of Solidarity published or proclaimed, accepted the open letter to the nations of the Eastern Europe. It was a very short letter with a very, let's say, modest text that we are greeting all the workers in the communist space and the lands of Soviet Union and so on, and there is the list of these countries, and we hope to have in the future very good relations, and to tighten the relations, to build our peaceful and properful countries and societies. It is very modest text, which was received in Kremlin by Brezhnev with a huge angry. They were very angry for Solidarity. Maybe this was the reason to introduce the martial law a few months later. And this is the reason that we have to be let's say, wait a moment.
Involved, maybe actively involved.
Loyal, faithful, be faithful, be trusty, be to the sense of this letter. From this past idea of solidarity, which was also promoted by John Paul II, the Polish Pope, the head of the Western Catholic Church, and we are promoting this permanent. And say we agree with Putin that this is the threat for him. This is the threat for Lukashenko, because it is Solidarity was a colorful revolution, like in Ukraine, like in Georgia, that the revolution that changed the world mostly without any force, without any violence. And related to Belarus, I was ambassador to Minsk 4 years in 1998 to 2002. I was previously general consul in the bordering region Grodno and this town, so I know this country very well. This is our neighbor. These are a very interesting country, the country of rich of young, energetic people who are very inventive and very, hardworking, and they deserved to have the country that is shaped by their ideas, by their dreams, and their by their vision of how to build their own country. And of course, we agree that this idea of solidarity could be a threat for this dictatorships like Lukashenko or Putin.
Thank you. Mr. Georgi, please.
Thank you again. So this question is about Georgia, and over the last decade, Visegrad Group's interest toward Georgia has increased or decreased, and what factors have led to this result? And what are your recommendations towards Georgia to increase and to deepen relations between these two countries and two groups, if we can say that?
Yes, of course, and theoretically, I could say you that I would recommend to have a group of countries to work together, to be a stronger partner of ally of NATO and member of the European Union. But I realize the problems that you are facing this time, in these last 2 days, we are witnessing the war against launched by the
Armenia and Azerbaijan
sides, Armenia and Azerbaijan, so Karabakh, and so this is the problem which is permanently not being resolved. Besides the efforts that were made by the OSCE, United Nations, and many others, and so we see that it is not still resolved. However, you have a potential. You could cooperate, as we see in Georgia. You have Armenians, you have Azeris, and in your country, for instance, there are a lot of patterns how to cooperate together, even if you have, a different history, different background, roots, religious, and so on. And so I think that you could provide to your neighbors, you could give your neighbors kind of ideas how to live without conflicts. Of course, we say conflicts in a term of war, but in the democratic countries there are a lot of conflicts, and it must be, because even in the families we have conflicts, and it is quite normal that the two twins inside the mother are kicking each other, and so we know that there is impossible to have a permanent, quiet and permanent calm. And of course, but the conflicts should be resolved by the peaceful way, and with the regard, with the protection of interests of sides. And so I think that Georgia could bring something interesting, and so the recommendation of Visegrad Group could be only theoretical, because you know better than we in our region in Europe how to live and how to challenge these problems. And so all patterns are good to know in the certain moments, in the certain environment, in the certain group of people. It is not transferable to the other. However, you could use a lot of elements of this. But I think that Visegrad Group could also be the assistance, but with not only Visegrad, but wider, looking at Romania, even the new members of the European Union in the Balkans, Croatia, Slovenia, and so on. You could see a lot of similarities that could be transferred into your situation with their assistance, with our assistance, even material assistance. I mean the experts, financial sources, or technical equipment, or other sources that could be useful to face the problems that you are surviving in your region. You have such let's say coalition in so-called Eastern Partnership, but it is the wider, of course, and so it is visible in Brussels that there are a lot of difference between the partners. For instance, where is Ukraine, where is Belarus, where is Georgia, where is Azerbaijan? There's a lot of gaps, a lot of differences that could not make you a unique organism. We understand it very well, but still I think that in a such mode, like having one voice with Ukraine. However, I understand the current situation. So Ukraine is hosting your former president, and it is maybe not very nice for the ruling party to have the person with whom they are in conflict. But still, with Ukraine, you have a lot of common. You have a lot of ties and relations that you could build kind of coalition. Of course, with Moldova, maybe the same interest, the same goal, the same methods to achieve results, positive results in the discussions with the European Union and NATO.
Thank you very much for answer, Your Excellency. Well, I can only confirm that the activities of the Visegrad group and the Visegrad Fund is expanded in Georgia, because there are a number of grants the Georgian non-governmental organizations and scholars are receiving. And one curiosity, there was the idea of creation of the Baltic Fund on the experience of Visegrad Fund, and a couple of weeks or month ago it was signed the new initiative by Baltic states and Poland, if I'm not mistaken. And as we can see, such kind of initiatives are becoming more and more popular, and I hope to see the same idea and the same initiative in our country, in Georgia. As for another question, Mr. Ambassador, you have brilliant academic background. You have served as a professor at the university. I have personally read a couple of your scientific publications, and that's why I have a question to you, as not to the ambassador, but to the person who has a perfect and marvelous scientific background. According to you, can the V4 be enlarged in the near future? Can other countries join this initiative and expand the activity of this regional union? For example, there are some chances maybe for Slovenia, for Ukraine in the future, for Belarus. What could you say about this? Is this an utopic idea or not?
I think this is not the problem how to expand with V4, because it is rather, let's say, the family of common interests, and in a certain moment it could be completed, since birth of new formations. And I see, the perspective in the 3 C's initiatives, which is the extension of the V4 ideas. And so this is the platform for the future cooperation. However, at the beginning, at the start, it is very modest, and our president, who has initiated in the European Union this idea with the Croatian president, and who they both launched a lot of projects, and so they launched the certain modus operandi. I mean the system of meetings, the heads of states and heads of the certain resorts, certain ministries, certain high-level officials to work together to find sources to build more effective connectivity system. I mean the highways, railways, the digital cooperation and so on. And this is the future for it. So we are very aware that on the base of this initiative that is rooted in a very concrete, very let's say physical realizations, performance, this could result in a near future with some maybe political initiatives. However, it is too early to predict in which direction, but we see the interest of Ukraine, interest of the neighboring countries. We had the voices from Tbilisi that they are interested to participate in some meetings and so on. So I think that in the near future we could widen offer some initiatives to be shared with our partners out from the European Union, because of the let's say idea of connectivity, which is going beyond our organizational frames. So I mean that, for instance, President initiated last weeks the special program to promote the so-called Black Sea investment initiative, which is mostly related to the interest of Romania and Bulgaria. But I think it is in the scope we have also Ukraine and Georgia.
And so as far as I know, the United States is supporting this initiative.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is, and it goes beyond, you know, the structures of limitations that are in the treaties, that are in the Lisbon Treaty or the Washington Treaty. So it goes beyond, because the political initiative should have, you know, their own life, and we believe that we could soon share these ideas, share these very concrete projects with Georgia and Ukraine, maybe with others.
Georgi, please.
Thank you again. So my question is about security again. I want to mention Suwalki Gap, or also known as Suwalki Corridor, which is only line where Poland and Baltic state meets. So it is only 100 kilometers long and sandwiched between the Belarus and Kaliningrad. Therefore, if Russians intervene militarily in the Belarus and deploy its forces near the Polish border, and therefore threatens the Suwalki and also the Poland itself, how it will change security of Visegrad Group, even though Baltic states are not a part of Visegrad Group, and what it's definitely to do to decrease military activity or military intervention by the Russia towards the Belarus.
I would like to underline once more that Visegrad Group is not the, let's say, separate international organization. This is the initiative that is bounding our four countries in a certain platforms, in a certain, let's say, initiatives within the European Union, within NATO. And our interest, Polish interest, is to broaden the initiatives that are supported by our four partners, but our V4 group, to other. And so we are very happy that most of the initiatives, maybe all of them, are shared by the Baltic states, so-called Baltic states. So I know that in Vilnius I served there for 3 years. They don't like the notion Baltic states, because they say, you know, there are a lot of Baltic states, and so why do you call us with a Russian manner, and so on. But these three partners north of Poland, I mean Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And they are sharing our ideas, and they offered us, even as I remember, for many years, they are offered, you know, to go together with V4 and say, we do not want to build an organization which is, you know, alternative to the European Union. We are very afraid of establishing such formation. This is enough for us, you know, that you share our ideas. V4 is not an organization, and the only organizational, let's say, aspect of this is the Visegrad Fund, which is promoting, you know, the NGOs, individuals outside of, mostly in the Eastern Partnership countries, to promote our values, merits that that Visegrad Group is related to, or is concentrated on. And what does concern, what comes to the Suwałki corridor, of course it is the huge, let's say, military challenge. I have described this problem many years ago. You could download my article, which is somehow the part of my elaborations on it, and the history of it. How did Russia try the Soviet Union at the beginning, when they saw the threat that Lithuania could be, you know, separated from the Soviet Union, how they started to work, you know, to have the connection with the military zone at that time, which was the Kaliningrad. I described a lot of these aspects in historical. It is in English. You could download from the CRN. It's in. So it is open source, and I would not like to repeat all this thesis, but my opinion, this approach, military approach, is a little bit, you know, mistaken. So we should not allow to look at this part of the land between Poland, Lithuania, Belarus, and Russian Federation to see on it like a threat. We should see this this moment, this crossroad, as a potential, let's say, opportunity to develop our cooperation. And we see it, you know, the scrutiny of the mines in the Kaliningrad region shows very, let's say, clearly what kind of merits that are more related to. They are more European than many others of Russians that are living, you know, near Moscow or near Petersburg. So it is visible. And so we would like to help them not to be separated from the Europe, not to be a military zone, and to help them to understand that we are not interested to militarize, to boost up, you know, the atmosphere, to have the only military, you know, relations with it. So it is not our interest. It is not the interest of so-called Baltic states and I think Belarus. Of course, for generals, for the post-Soviet, you know, ideologists, it is how somehow threatened they would lose, you know, their work, but it's not my problem. I can see, you know, that we could go forward and we could build a quite modern and different world in this part of Europe.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. Our conversation is coming to an end, and that's why I would like to give you the last question. And could you say a couple of words about the main achievements that the V4 has? What are the main factors why we can say that the Visegrad Group is a success story?
There are a lot of examples. I cannot, you know, in a one line that's enumerate you that, so this is the success, this is, but I can say it very generally that we have in most problems to be solved within the European Union and NATO, we say with a one voice. It is very important. And this is the power for, because, you know, this is the voice which matters in Brussels and in Washington, and this is our success. The second one, that we could, you know, be a good example of cooperation for the others. Let's say the former communist countries in the eastern part of Europe, which are not competing horribly, you know, like many others, but cooperating, even if they have the different opinions, different meanings, or different approaches to many things, to many problems that they are facing. You know, you have mentioned Russia and the different approach of Budapest. It does not. We admire, you know, this pragmatical approach in Budapest. We do not share this, but still we could find, you know, the way how to go together and cooperate.
Okay, thank you very much, Your Excellency, for being with us for the very interesting conversation. Dziękujemy bardzo. I'd like to thank you, Georgi, as well.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Thank you again.
Didi Madlov.